Milano wants to know why self-defense is God-given right. Cruz educates her. Yeah, so I'm going to respond to some articles I've been reading. This is a video that's responding to current events, which means that this is going to be completely dated in 4 months, and people will be talking about something different. But I wanted to make this video just to get it out of my system. So let me give the background here. There's been another gun massacre in America again, which has caused the same predictable responses from both sides. Calls on the left for politicians to do something, and a Texas state senator, whose name I don't remember, sent out a series of tweets about how he was not going to take away people's God-given right to carry guns. Which prompted a lot of people to respond that actually carrying guns is not a God-given right. I had a friend on Facebook who said, yeah, you don't have a God-given right to carry weaponry of any sort. That's not in the Bible anywhere. And I thought, at the risk of giving away my biases, I thought, yeah, that's right. What a stupid thing to say, that you have a God-given right to a gun. So I was wondering what kind of other responses there might be to this, so I just typed it into Google News, Texas Senator God-given right. And to my surprise, or maybe not my surprise, a whole bunch of articles came up about Ted Cruz, who had weighed in on the debate. And at least initially, all of the articles that came up were from conservative websites that said Ted Cruz completely schools people who don't think there's a God-given right to carry a gun. Or, Ted Cruz had said something on Twitter, apparently, weighing in on the debate. And a bunch of several conservative publications had praised Ted Cruz for schooling the liberals on this one. So I thought, well, okay, how is Ted Cruz going to school people on how you actually have a God-given right to carry a gun? And I read through some of the articles, and I thought, boy, this is... He is not at all proving his point. He has not proven that we have a God-given right to carry guns. But what was interesting is these articles all, in the comment sections for these articles, all treated this as if Cruz had just completely blown away the liberals. And it occurred to me that this is an example of in-group thinking. Or, when people are in a certain group, they are less inclined to examine critically arguments that support their opinion. They just unquestionably accept arguments that support what they already are predisposed to believe and don't see the logical fallacies in it. I should admit, by way of full disclosure, that I'm especially sensitive to this because I see it in myself. I'm on the opposite side of the political spectrum. I'm on the left. But I noticed over the years, I've caught myself doing this so many times. Well, I'll watch a Michael Moore movie or something like that, and I'll be like, oh, he is so right. He is so right. He is so right. And I won't even see the logical gaps or the leaps of logic in it until a conservative friend will point it out to me. And then I'll be like, why didn't I see that? And it's because I was not predisposed to examine it critically. It was something I agreed with, so I turned off my critical faculties. I think that's a growing problem nowadays, especially with the political discourse having fallen apart and things getting so polarized. So I had this idea that maybe if I tried to explain politely why Ted Cruz's logic completely falls apart here, that maybe somebody possibly it might be of educational value to some of the people who have been thinking that this type of logic is actually working. Probably not. Who am I kidding? I'm going to try and go through the motions anyways. So there was an actress who tweeted it initially, can someone cite which passage of the Bible God states it's a God-given right to own a gun? This guy is unbelievable. She's referring to the state senator. So Ted Cruz responded, "An excellent question, worth considering carefully without the snark of Twitter. It is of course not the right of a modern-day firearm that is God-given, but rather the right to life and the right to liberty. Essential to that right is the right to defend your life and your family. The right to self-defense is recognized repeatedly in the Bible. E.g., Exodus 22, verse 2, if a thief is caught breaking in at night and is struck by a fatal blow, the defender is not guilty of bloodshed. Note, though, verse 3 says it is murder if it is during the daylight, i.e., not self-defense. The Declaration of Independence acknowledges our rights thusly. We hold these rights to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Scrolling down. "And for that reason, the Second Amendment provides the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It wasn't to protect people's ability to hunt or to shoot target practice, but to defend their lives, their homes, and their families. Stephen Williford exercised that fundamental right when he risked his own life to stop the Sutherland Springs murderer, saving countless others as a result. St. George Tucker, one of the most important scholars in early America, explained the reasons behind the Second Amendment as follows. This may be considered as a true palladium of liberty. The right of self-defense is the first law of nature. Cruz continued, in most governments, it has been the study of rulers to confine this right within the narrowest limits possible. Wherever the right to keep and bear arms is under any pretext whatsoever prohibited, liberty, if not already annihilated, is on the brink of destruction. That's why post-Civil War, disarming black Americans was a critical objective of the KKK and was memorialized in countless Jim Crow laws. To strip African Americans of their God-given right to self-defense from violence. I'm a Texan. What happened in Midland, Odessa, and El Paso, Santa Fe, and Sutherland Springs was sick, deranged, and horrifying. We need to do much more to stop violent criminals and those with dangerous mental illness before they murder, and I'm leading the fight in the Senate to do so. So that was a series of 10 tweets that were put into what the kids call a thread, so it all read continuously. But that was essentially the argument. Okay, I'm going to try and politely go through why I think this is unconvincing. First thing, note that even if you agree with his argument, I don't, but even if you agree with it, note that it takes the form of, okay, the Bible doesn't directly say you have a God-given right to carry guns, but if you think about it real hard, it kind of does, because A, then B, then C, so actually we do kind of have a God-given right to carry guns. Which essentially means, yeah, maybe if you think about it, to me it's equivalent to conceding that you should not on Twitter say we have a God-given right to carry guns. I mean, if the argument is, if you think about it real hard and follow this train of logic, then arguably we have a God-given right to carry guns. It's a debate, right? So you should, if that's your defense, then that's equivalent to saying, to me that's equivalent to admitting you shouldn't just go on Twitter and say you have a God-given right to carry guns as if this was assumed and everybody knew it. If you have to go through that many logical steps to justify it, then I think liberals are justified in being snarky about saying where is it in the Bible that you have a God-given right. And as a side note, it's a red flag anytime somebody has too much of a convoluted argument. The word is sophistry when you resorting to convoluted arguments to justify something that on the face of it appears to be a little bit ridiculous. Not that necessarily disproves it, but it's a warning sign. It's also a warning sign when your first port of call is an obscure verse from the books of the Mosaic Law that nobody really knows. It indicates, I mean, I highly doubt that state legislator was thinking about that verse when he sent out that tweet. But Christians do not hold that Mosaic Law as binding. The New Testament is quite clear that we are freed from that Mosaic Law. Now, you can argue about which parts of it maybe still have some relevance today, but it is not assumed, even in Christian circles, that all parts of that Mosaic Law are binding. So this argument that we as modern day Christians have the right to self-defense because you found an obscure passage in the old Mosaic Law is a little bit of a stretch. But even assuming we go with this, the jump from saying we have a right to self-defense to saying we have a right to a weapon is a leap. It's not clear in that verse that we have a right to carry a weapon for self-defense. You know, it says, if someone should happen to kill a thief, he's not guilty of murder. It doesn't even explicitly say we have a right to self-defense. It's just kind of, there's an implication there of a right to self-defense. There's certainly no justification for carrying a weapon. And even if there was, the implication would seem to be, the implication would seem to be, at least for me, that you have the right to carry a weapon that could kill one person. This modern debate we're having in America about these assault rifles, which are meant for war zones, right? Where you can mow down 30 people in 10 seconds or whatever the rate of fire is, does not seem to apply to the situation of self-defense of a thief breaking into your home. This would, maybe if you had like 100 people all coming at you because you were in a war zone or something, then maybe you would need this weapon for self-defense. So the idea that we've got a God-given right to these semi-automatic assault rifles does not seem to be defended by this tweet he's setting out. And then he links this in with what the American founders said, where we have a God-given right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And he tries to tie that in, but that is such, I think in general terms, maybe we do have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But these concepts are so loose that we have to pursue these rights within the confines of a social agreement which respects the rights of everyone. So I cannot say, I have the right to be happy. Therefore, you could justify anything by that. I know this is going to make some people angry, but by the same logic, you could say, somebody on the left could easily say, I've got a God-given right to an abortion because having this child is going to ruin my happiness. And in all seriousness, somebody having a pregnancy that they don't want and having to take care of a baby they don't want, that is really going to ruin their happiness. I know the argument would be that the life of the baby is more important, but if you're saying people have the right to the pursuit of happiness, and then what's to stop a liberal from saying we have a God-given right to abortions? Or I've got a God-given right to play my violent video games, or, to flip that on its other head. And furthermore, I feel quite strongly that I have a God-given right not to get shot by a semi-automatic assault rifle when I'm in the mall. That has to be balanced against what somebody feels is their God-given right to self-defense. I guess what I'm trying to say, and this is, maybe if I'm being honest with myself, this is probably a failure to communicate. But what I'm trying to say is this Ted Cruz is not schooling anybody. It's a ridiculous argument, and it's ridiculous as being reported in a number of conservative publications as if this argument was schooling the liberals. I'm getting angry and probably alienating the people I was hoping to convert. Oh well. I'm just gonna cut my losses and stop filming here. This has probably been a bit of a failure. I'm still gonna post this anyways, but sorry about it.